want to talk a little bit about bad weather hunting with a flintlock rifle. I know guys that never take their guns out in the rain because they're worried about ignition, they're worried about getting their gun wet. Most of the time I've had all my rifles that I've hunted with through the years in bad weather. I've had them soaking wet. I bring them home, clean them up, let them dry out, put a little oil to them, clean off any little bit of rust, and use them just the way the frontiersmen used them back then. It was a tool, and they didn't always pick the weather or whether it was a good day or a bad day. It was just the day they went out. So a few things that I found that will help as far as rain goes. One is, so you load your rifle, you got it primed. Okay, you're carrying it around. If you carry that gun like this, rain could come in from the back possibly, but the rain will come off the barrel getting away from the lock itself. If you tip that rifle up, this corner right here where the barrel and the wood come together works as like a gutter channel. And what will happen is the raindrops will run right down that corner, right to your touch hole and right to your pan. Sometimes when I'm building a rifle, I put rain gutters on the front and the back side of the pan to try to divert some of that water to get it away. Sometimes, a few of them I even put a hole in the back. It's like a gutter to help divert that water away as much as you can. If you don't have that scenario, and even on top of that, I still go to more measures. So the rifle's all loaded up. I carry a combination of bear grease and beeswax with me. And it's just a simple mix I make at home, keep in a little container. And then I'll take a screwdriver and take a corner of it. So the only thing I'm doing is popping a little corner like that. Let's get rid of this thing. And what I'm doing is I'm just simply placing it, I hope you can see this, simply placing it up here at the corner. Just a little ball putty. It's not in the pan. It's not getting on the lock itself. Only thing it's doing is diverting that water. So when that water drop comes back, it hits that and shoots it off before it gets to the pan. Real simple. I know sometimes people will seal up the pans and put goop up on the top. You can do that, but the problem with that is once you shoot it once, all that goop's up here, and now it's getting scraped down into your touch hole on your second shot. So I tend to find that's enough. I use what's called a cow's knee. Or rain cover. All it is a glorified, the reason they call them a cow's knee is because they used to take the hide off of a cow's back knee, and it had that form. And so it had a natural form, it had no seams in it. And that's why they call it a cow's knee. What that does is it just laps over. It's just a glorified rain hat. Everybody's got different scenarios about attaching them. I tend to like a button with a lanyard. And what I do with that is I take it and wrap it around the button like once or twice. If you start tying bows and ribbons and all kinds of fun Christmas stuff on there, when you get ready to shoot something, all of a sudden it's like, crap, I can't get it off because there's too much holding it on. Where this is plenty enough. This is plenty enough to be able to just unwrap it and pop it off. The other thing I do is put a lanyard on the top of the strap. And so I do one of two things. If it's a decent day, I'll carry it sometime and attach it to the back of the trigger guard and just simply push it through and loop it over. Or I'll tie it off on my button of my coat, or the strap, it doesn't matter, and do that. And so I'm carrying the rifle up here nice and tight to my body. And I carry the gun a lot like this. And if I'm wearing my rain cape, which is an oil skin cape, I'll flip it down over top of the rifle itself too, as another precautionary measure. And I don't lift the barrel up trying to get that water to come back at me. And at this point, if I see something and say this is lanyard on there, so it doesn't come off, when I take it off, the only thing I have to do is come out of it. Come out of it. That's all I need to do. And this isn't flying off the bottom of the trigger guard to let the deer or whatever I'm hunting know that I'm there, and I don't lose this. if I shoot something and I'm moving to get on it, I don't have to go back and pick it up in the woods someplace. It's still hanging on me, or it's hanging on the trigger guard itself. So these things are easy enough to make. Just make a paper pattern. I tend to make them out of thinner leather. The thicker ones tend to be too rigid, and I don't like the form of them. The thinner ones, I go and I coat this down with a really good coat of beeswax and bear grease, to the point it'll hold water. I could drink water out of this thing if I wanted, and it wasn't so filthy. But once you have it, you'll love it. And then make them small enough that you just fold it up. It goes in the back pocket of my shooting pouch, lives there all the time. Doesn't matter whether I'm out for an hour or a week. It's always there as my backup. So just a little thing, rain covers, a little bit of grease will help you a bunch. I tend to use 3F on my priming. That'll help you a bunch for moisture. If you lay two scenarios out with a 3F and a 4F pile and come back in a couple days and push on both of them, normally if there's any humidity whatsoever, that 4F turns into putty. The same thing happens when you're in the rain. And the next thing, once you have the putty that's back here at your touch hole, and that's the problem with the drip that gets back here. One drip gets in here, you're walking along and every once in a while you peek down in here to see how things look. And when you look down in there, the powder's dry on the front. But what you don't realize is it's wet right back here. And also these things will put you in a bad place too. Because if you're walking around in the rain and you're fine. And then I'm like, I'm gonna look at my gun and I'm gonna go like this, and then I tip my hat back, and I've seen it happen. You tip your hat back and the drips go right down into the touch hole. Makes for a bad day. So a couple little things, a little bit of grease goes a long way. Make yourself a rain cover.